Oh, we might not be able to stream to Twitter tonight, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Freaking StreamYard.
And now it says we're live. Okay, let me just guys let it breathe for a second longer. All kinds of weird digital things happening on the social media sites today, but we just got to connect to these meta folks, and we'll get things cooking. From here, Mr. Producer's got it. So, welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. And both Zack and I have been furiously at the keyboard. In fact, the reason we are so late tonight is it was literally 5:45. News breaks that the Broncos not only signed Greenlaw, we're going to talk about that, Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker, but Javonte Williams signing with the Cowboys. Both of them, they're articles that have to be written. So Zack and I had to hurry and jump on those real fast before we hit the podcast. So please forgive our tardiness tonight in particular. But Zack, here we are. We'll call it, so as not to put Mr. Producer on edge, we'll call it pre-day one of free agency. I don't know. He hates legal tampering window. It's a touchy subject with Mr. Producer. But day one is in the books. Zack, how would you grade the Broncos up to this point?
A+, man. If they made no other moves after the two they made today, it would be a resounding success in my book, Chad, because you come away with a former all-pro safety, a starting inside linebacker who was the best available at his position, two massive upgrades over the incumbents from last season. I'm going to tweet it, but I want to say it on the podcast. Remember when they said that no one would want to play for the Broncos? Laughing emoji.
No doubt. So day one of the contact period. That's what we're going to call it on tonight's podcast, is the contact period. I was telling Scott before we went live, another one of his little bugaboos is he hates off-ball linebacker. So if you're going to say linebacker or inside linebacker. He actually swung me on that many years ago. I don't say it. I don't write it. If it's in an article, one of the guys sends in, I edit it off-ball to inside linebacker. So maybe over time you'll swing me on this too, Scott. The contact period, day one. But Zack, I would give it, I mean, what would I want differently that hasn't happened yet? I'll give it a B. And here's why. I know they're close, but I want that tight end and I want that running back. I don't know where they're at on running back, but we know, Zack, the visit with Evan Ingram. What's the latest on that you've heard?
Yeah, last I saw a few hours ago from the Denver Gazette's Chris Thomason, great reporter in the local market, is that Ingram is still at Broncos Park. Again, this was a few hours ago, maybe 3-4 hours ago, but he's been visiting with the Broncos all day today. I would assume negotiations are still ongoing. Maybe they're working through medicals as well because he missed a chunk of the season last year, but I haven't heard anything other than that, Chad. And I'm with you, though. The last remaining the cherry on top here would be Evan Ingram or, to a lesser extent, Juwan Johnson. But to get Greenlaw and Hufanga is amazing.
So, guys, I hope you are staying up to date with the Broncos free agency tracker that we've had up all day. And I'll just run through it real quick before I grab this super chat. We already know about the re-signings. In case you missed it, Jarrett Stidham, Mitchell Furboni. That was yesterday. Today, DJ Jones, last night, I guess, DJ Jones, Matt Pert, the offensive tackle today, as far as signings, Talanoa Hufanga, the safety from San Francisco, and then the linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, from San Francisco. Departures, said goodbye to Zach Wilson, signed a 1-year deal with Miami. Cody Barton, adios. He got himself a very nice pay raise, going on a 3-year, $21 million deal to Tennessee. And then the flyer, the next level gunner on special teams, Tremont Smith, he left for greener pastures in Houston. And that covers everything I know up to this point. David Yunkin, brother, thank you for the super chat, big dog. So good to see you tonight. Hope you're doing well. Says 2 great signings today, Greenlaw and Hufanga. Now VJ needs to step up. No excuses. Yeah, I mean, you filled 2 major holes. It creates still, Zach, a little bit of room for PJ Locke to be that third safety in big nickel packages. Still creates an opportunity for Drew Sanders to compete this summer and maybe unseat one of those guys, depending on how well Alex Singleton is recovering from his injury. And Taylor jumping in too on Super Chat. Thank you, buddy, saying, OMG, guys, great signings today. What's Ingram's status? And Zach, I think we just touched on that. He's, as far as we know, He's still in Denver. So it's looking good. It's looking good.
Yeah, you brought up PJ Locke, and if it was me, I'm cutting PJ Locke. He's not a starter, Chad, and they have backup quality safeties on the roster. If they do cut him, they would gain about 4.19 million, leaving behind $1 million in dead money. So they have their starters now, Brandon Jones and Hufanga, but I want to see JL Skinner step up. I want to see Devin Key step up. I want to see Delarian Turner-Yell step up. Locke, to me, is a restructure or release candidate.
Man, I just know they love him. The Broncos love him. And, they still have time. I'm not sure exactly what the deadline is on PJ's contract. A lot of times they're centered, obviously, on the first day of the new league year. That's Wednesday. I'm not certain that that's a deadline for Locke, but they haven't waived him up to this point. We shall see. He's been one of the most likely cap casualties all offseason. Papa Bear, what is going on, big dog? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the super chat. Hope you're excited. If you can't tell, Zach and I were excited. I almost said aroused, but I don't want to get anybody going off in the wrong, thinking the wrong thing. But we are. We're lit up right now. This is exciting stuff, and it's kind of been a slog of an offseason, to be frank, in terms of Bronco news, right? So this has been a fun day. But David, good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag Let's Go Bo. Hashtag God bless the USA. Yes, indeed. Thank you, brother. So good to see you. Appreciate you a lot. But what do you make, Zach, of the Tennessee Titans showing Cody Barton the money?
I'm thankful for one, because it probably pushed the Broncos to up their offer to Drake Greenlaw, who, by the way, was fielding offers from Atlanta, Houston, a bunch of other teams as well. So Walmart money is undefeated. That will always be the case. But I wish him well, I guess, Chad. I know you're a little higher on him than I was. He was a one-dimensional linebacker who was good against the run, but kind of exploited in pass coverage. All in all, though, I am so happy they finally have their upgrade with Mr. Drake Greenlaw.
Yeah, I just like Cody Barton as that failsafe. Hey, if you could bring him back at a similar level that he signed for last year, he's basically been relegated to 1-year mercenary status for the preceding 3 years. And he's over-delivered on that. Frankly, for what he's been paid to do, he's over-delivered on it. 3 straight seasons with triple-digit tackles. Last year was his most prolific season as a pro. That's why he got paid. Not just because it was on a team, Zach, that made the playoffs and had a little bit of a shine to him in the Broncos, but he had north of 100 tackles, and he had his fingerprints on 4 different takeaways, and he even scored. So props to him. Excited, a Rocky Mountain OG. I'm glad he finally found a way to get paid. And yeah, I'm not, if it was the Broncos giving him 3 years, $21 million, I'd be like, I like Cody Barton, Zach, but within a very specific, we'll call it value structure. Shiloh, what's up, dude? He says, slams the table. Ingram. I hear you, dude. I hear you. That would take what today has been for me, the perfect grade, A+, even running back situation notwithstanding. Sam Bam, bro, thank you for the super chat. Awesome to see you. He says, evening, guys. A great start to free agency thus far. Hufanga, now Greenlaw, and maybe Ingram as well. The defense is going to be even better. Go Broncos. That's the hope, baby. I mean, the only fly in the ointment on Hufanga is the availability aspect, the injury bug, which I don't want to dwell too much on tonight. I want to I guess if you guys want to talk about it, we can, but that's the only thing that really makes you wonder. He's only got 1 full season under his belt in 4 years as a pro where he appeared in every game. And he's coming off a year last year where he only appeared in 7. All of them were starts, though. So, Zach, your thoughts here for Sam Bam?
Yeah, there's definitely a risk with both. They have injury backgrounds, and Hufanga more so. He had an ACL, then he had a wrist issue, or I'm sorry, an Achilles, and then a wrist issue. So when he's healthy, he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. Obviously, he can't help you, though, if he's not healthy, but I think he has a clean bill of health as far as I read, Chad. And what the Broncos have working in their favor is Bo Lowry and the Broncos' strength and conditioning medical department. They've been wonderful the last couple seasons, so fingers crossed they'll keep both these guys healthy.
Indeed. Amen to that. We got Rock Chalk in the house. What's going on, big dog? Great to see you tonight. Saying Broncos making some moves. Greenlaw and Hufanga immediately solidify 2 weak spots in the defense. Excited to see what George Payton and Sean Payton have left up their sleeves for the rest of free agency leading into the draft. Go Broncos. Hashtag MHH for life, Broncos for life. Indeed. I would say, Zach, on the to-do list, as far as like prioritizing, it's still tight end, running back. I'll be surprised if they don't at least bring in one outside receiver, but then again, maybe they just run it back with Lil Jordan Humphrey and go to the draft. We'll see. But they definitely, we heard it from Sean Payton when he sat on that couch with Kay Adams. Turns out, Zach, it wasn't a smoke screen. They were very serious about investing to improve the middle of the defense, and that meant for Sean Payton, linebacker and safety.
Yeah, I don't know, though, with running back, who they can really go after that's an upgrade. I think we might have diverging opinions on this. I know you were an Aaron Jones guy, Chad, and Aaron Jones is staying in Minnesota. Rico Dowdle's out there, but I think they're going to take that position into the draft. Another one to keep in mind that's not as sexy, but punter, Riley Dixon's a free agent, and they don't have one under contract, so they're going to have to make a signing there.
No doubt. And, it's really great that the Broncos have emerged from kind of, I mean, they're still an underdog to an extent, but they're not the same old underdog that they've always been. However, football, it feels good, Zach. It's kind of back today, at least on the newswire. Moves are being made. We're starting to dream and project about what it's going to look like, how it's going to look, what it's going to be. But when it comes to actually sports that are taking place right now, Zach, we're really left with basketball. All right. So listen, if you're following the basketball, whether it's NBA, March Madness, all that stuff coming up, we're here to give you that alley-oop opportunity to win some money while you're watching with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps. And guess what? You can play right now in your state. Ask yourself, do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? Well, you can with Underdog.
And here's how to play. Choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, like points, assists, rebounds, and more. Underdog's got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Create entries with all basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge.
Guys, I've had so much fun with Underdog. You can too. Download the app today. Sign up, though, using our code MHUDDLE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun with your football priest, Mr. Producer, when you sign up with promo code MHUDDLE. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right, we go back to the chat. We've got Lady D jumping in with a very generous super chat. Deanna Hendry, we love you. We appreciate you. Hope you're feeling good. And it looks like you are. She says, super happy so far with the Broncos bringing in Hufanga and Greenlaw. Wish Zach Wilson well. Keep going ahead with positive signings. Hashtag MHH for life. Yeah, Zach, I was, and thank you, Lady D. Appreciate you so much. We love you. One of our colleagues who is credentialed with the Dolphins, he's like, so, hey, text me. He's like, yo, is there any chance Zach Wilson is a legit number 2 quarterback? Like, give me your thoughts. And I just told him, I said, hey, man, you got to keep your expectations in check. But if the Dolphins had to turn to him for any reason with Tua and the concussion thing, he could keep you afloat, especially having spent that year with Sean Payton and the similarities in scheme and philosophy with the regime down there, McDonald, or not McDonald. What's his name? I just what's
McDaniels.
Mike McDaniel. I think it's as good as any spot for him, Zach, to have landed. So happy for him. I know the Broncos wanted to keep Wilson in a perfect world, but it wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how his career arc is going to go from here. Is he going to be a redemption story like Sam Darnold, or is he going to continue kind of treading water? We don't know too much about him, Chad, based on his time with the Broncos. We saw him in the preseason, then he never took a snap in the regular season. A lot of Broncos fans are wishing him well, and they liked what he offered the team, but we don't really know. So I'm interested to see, because he might get some playing time with his injury history. I'm interested to see, how he could do in Miami.
Yeah, I think it's good chance you're going to see Zach Wilson at some point in 2025. But you saw which one, and we kind of expected this, which quarterback they were going to push their chips toward. It was always going to be Stidham, not just because he's an obvious Sean Payton guy, like Sean Payton loves Stiddy, but the whole Auburn thing and the connection, the friendship, and all that with Bo Nix. So the Broncos, hey, bittersweet letting him go, but they're very, very happy with their quarterback room because hey, you got Bo Nix, baby.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be on the hunt for a number 3 quarterback. I saw a joke floating around Twitter about God, I forgot, Ben DiNucci, the Italian Stalin, the Nooch. But yeah, they're going to probably have to sign like a backup developmental quarterback. That might happen later in the offseason, though.
We got Byron Lewis jumping in with a very generous super chat off the top rope.
Byron.
Bro, thank you. Thank you so much, Byron. Appreciate you, big dog. He says, stoked to get Greenlaw in free agency. I wonder how Drew Sanders can fit in. Also, sad to see Pookie Williams go. I am too. It's one of those things, again, bittersweet, where we knew that the Broncos needed to make some changes at running back, but Pookie is just such a good guy. That his football character is immense. He became a young leader in that locker room. He's a former second-round pick of the team. You hope guys like that are able to qualify, let's call it, Zach, for a second contract. And we know the Broncos wanted him back, but at the right price. And whatever the Cowboys, whatever the Broncos price was, the Cowboys obviously exceeded it because that's where he took his talents. 1 year, $3 million, I think it was, Zach.
Yeah, up to 3.5 with incentives. So kind of a rehab value type deal, prove it deal, whatever you want to call it. But that's about where Pookie is. I mean, he's a backup running back. He's not the same as he was pre-injury, probably will never be the same as he was pre-injury. And I'm happy the Broncos are moving on to a more dynamic direction. And if this helps the Cowboys, bypass Genty in the draft, so be it. Helps the Broncos out potentially.
Drew Sanders, though, and Ronk, love you, brother. Good evening, he says, Chad and Zach on the MHH podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Great to see you tonight, Mike. Hope you're doing well. Drew Sanders, it really depends on the recovery of Alex Singleton. If that stays on track, he's your third guy. If there are any setbacks or hitches to that particular giddy up, he's your penciled in projected guy to start next to Greenlaw. Matt Fisher jumping in with a super. Thank you, bud. Says Greenlaw and Sanders starting. See, Mr. Producer, he had this all lined out. What do you think?
I'm in agreement with you. I think as long as Singleton comes back from his ACL, I think it was last season, as long as he comes back healthy, he'll be the veteran starter next to Greenlaw. But Sanders, like we heard at the Combine, Chad, from the horses' mouths, they do see him as a future starter. They put him back at off-ball linebacker as opposed to edge, and they're just interested to see his development there. So between the three, this should be okay.
Sanders, he's so raw, but man, he's got immense talent. He still has that nose for the ball, so he'll get some looks. We'll see. It's really contingent again on Alex Singleton. Drew, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you, big dog.
Thank you, Drew.
Hope things are going well with your endeavors. Thank you for the super chat. It says the Broncos solved a lot of problems today. I could not be happier right now. Yes, indeed. Again, what's free agency about? It's about filling the immediate holes on the roster to free you up as a team, to try and be as disciplined to the best player available philosophy in the draft and not feel that pressure to perhaps reach on guys based on needs. So they've checked multiple boxes today, Zach. There's still a couple left to go. But like you mentioned earlier, running back, all the guys that really there weren't too many that were interesting in the first place. Once you got past Aaron Jones, Zach, it fell off a cliff. But I think they'll still end up bringing somebody in. Might be second wave. We'll see. But if they get Evan Ingram, man, that's a nice 1 or 2 year Band-Aid to help Bo Nix continue to grow and reach that next level while you're developing a guy that you drafted, second or third round maybe.
I echo Drew's joy here because what did we say before free agency started? That the Broncos, our opinions anyway, they should spend the money on defense and then focus the draft on their offense. And that's exactly what they're doing. They had two biggest needs down the middle, Chad, of the defense, which was linebacker and safety. And what they do, they went out on day one in free agency, kind of like a few years ago when they signed Powers and McGlinchey. They went out and signed linebacker and safety. So how could we hate them going 2 for 2 and plucking two really good players off the market?
Taylor jumping in. Thank you, buddy, again to say also, what's your opinion on the free agents we lost and the rest of the free agent signings? So we've spent quite a bit talking about the free agent signings, and we'll continue through the rest of the night. But, again, bittersweet to see Pookie go. Slightly less bittersweet to see Zach Wilson go. I mean, he was a nice feather in the cap. But, again, to me, it was actually way more of a good thing to see Zach Wilson go because, Zach, I got to tell you, man, I question the logic of keeping on a team like the Broncos that needed every ounce of help it could get, relying on the youth of the roster, churning the bottom of that sucker, talking about the game day roster. You needed that spot. You were carrying 3 quarterbacks. So this at least gives me a much more confidence, Zach, that whatever that third guy is this year, 2025, he's got to have that third guy by the time you get to the season. It'll hopefully be a practice squad guy. Gene William, defense is going to be scary. I'm so happy we have money again. Your thoughts, Zach?
And proper ownership. I mean, the Walton Penner ownership group has been nothing short of fantastic since they took over. I don't really have any sort of negative feelings, emotional feelings about any free agent the Broncos lost. There was only one that I wanted re-signed, and that was DJ Jones, and he got the bag from the Walmarts. So, I mean, they've added more talent than they've lost, and I think that's the goal.
The sleeper departure, I'll say 2 of them are Cody Barton and Tremont Smith. But because the Broncos salved that wound with Dre Greenlaw at linebacker, you're not losing any sleep over Cody Barton taking his talents to Tennessee. But Tremont Smith, he's one of those guys that is just, you can't really point to a statistic per se that showcases his value. You don't have a 1,000-yard season to point to if he were a receiver or, 10 interceptions or something as a corner, even though his primary position is corner. But he was the team's gunner. They felt that one a little bit, and I think they will feel that one a little bit. But the good news is they brought in one of the best special teams coaches in the NFL. So whatever the plan is, they'll get that figured out. But Tremont Smith is a sleeper, owie kind of departure for the Broncos.
Yeah, like you said, Darren Rizzi should be able to overcome that. There's, a dime a dozen Tremont Smiths out there. You can sign a veteran, you can draft one. I'm happy that he got the bag, though, from Houston. He's a good player on that side of the ball.
And as Scott says, you talk about the middle of the defense. I mean, it's basically the entire spine was accounted for today, starting DJ Jones, Greenlaw, Hufanga. So, hey, people wondering how much of Sean Payton's offseason remarks were smokescreen and how much were the truth. At least this year, Zach, so far, almost everything he said, we can point to actions taken by the Broncos as being the truth. George, it looks like our defense just got better. Now it's the offense in the draft. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Thank you. And it's still true, man. That age-old cliche, defense wins championships. That is still true. If you even go back, Zach, to that Buffalo game, yeah, you needed the offense to do more than it did in the second half, but it was picking apart and just running down the Broncos' throats on defense that really kind of kept the ball out of Bo Nix's hands, allowed everybody to go cold on that side of the ball. So you're seeing when the chips are down in those big games, man, you need a defense, and the Broncos definitely are investing in that. While Bo Nix is on his rookie contract, that's where, Zach, I think you're going to see beyond the offensive line, majority of the new spending is going to be on D.
Yeah, they could probably use a defensive lineman for depth. They could probably use a cornerback for depth or whatever, but their huge glaring needs were inside linebacker and safety, and they filled those with a plum on day one. So I want to echo Drew once again. It's hard not to be ecstatic.
Another legendary, mythical figure in our midst. We've got D-Dub. Dale checking in with a very generous super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, hello to all. It's nice to see the direction of the front office and coaches taking shape. I think we all have pretty accurately identified where the holes are. So I'm sure we're all elated. Ingram next, hopefully. Can't wait for draft day. No doubt about it, dude. No doubt about it. And hey, let's give some props to George Payton, who is, with the help of all the people around him and Sean Payton, Walton Penners, everyone. I mean, they're making some hay. Yeah, they got some cap space this year in terms of the overall picture. They've been around like 40 million plus the cash resources that the Walton Penner money brings to the table. But Zach, they're still carrying 35 million dead on Russ. So tip your cap, hats off to George Payton and company, and to you as well, D-Dub. Love you, big dog.
Thank you so much, Dale, as always, my friend. We are greatly appreciative for your contributions to the show. I think a lot of people, Chad, owe George Payton an apology. I think we need to forgive him. And I mean, the ones that detract from George Payton need to forgive him for Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, those hires, because the moves he's made in free agency, the draft picks he's made, the undrafted signings, the negotiating style that he has, Chad, he's really a good general manager, and the Broncos are fortunate to have him at the helm.
No doubt. Thank you, D-Dub, again, brother. Great to see you. Appreciate the support. Kathy, good to see you checking in from across the pond. Proving Broncos country is not a geographic location. It is, in fact, a state of being. Great to see you tonight, Kathy. She says, hi, guys. Who from the MHH team is going to be at the Berlin game versus the Colts? I'll be there no matter if I get tickets for the game. Let's freaking go, Broncos. Not sure on that yet. That there's still a lot of moving parts to that whole thing, but stay tuned and we'll keep you in the loop on that. But congrats. That's awesome. Hope you get that chance. I really do, Kathy.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game out there in Europe, and I'll say right now I volunteer to go cover that game for MHH, Chad. But yeah, we'll have more info on that, Kathy, as we get closer.
Yeah, maybe you and Scott can tag team it, because Scott, he's the jet setter. He loves going across the Atlantic over to Europe and whatnot. So, but we'll see, Kathy, and thank you so much for being a part of this thing. David Youngkin jumping in again says, I don't see the Broncos getting a running back, maybe a tight end, then saving the rest to get deals done with our players. That is a good point, especially the last thing you said, that you do have to budget a little bit, hedge a little bit toward, hey, what are we going to do with Zach Allen? What are we going to do with Cortland Sutton, etc. So that does factor into this. Good point, David. And no matter what, with where they're at now in the running back market, any guy they're bringing in is going to be on the relative cheap anyway. So I think the last bigger expenditure would be, probably, as far as outside guys coming in, would be Evan Ingram.
Yeah, you need to budget some money too for a Nick Bonito extension this summer if the Broncos want to, go that route. But yeah, if not Evan Ingram, Juwan Johnson still available, former Saints, Sean Payton tight end, that could be an option. Tyler Conklin, I believe, is still out there. So yeah, grab a tight end, grab a punter, maybe grab a number 3, number 4 receiver, and then call it a day until the draft.
Yeah, thank you, David. Phil McLaughlin checking in. Tucson Phil in the house with some Facebook support. Thank you, buddy. Saying good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. A couple of great signings today, as long as they stay healthy. That's the caveat. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. And now take care of Zach Allen, and we are set. Hashtag Buckham MHH for life. Broncos for life, Zach.
I don't want to be like the well actually guy, but the same could be said about every player in the NFL. As long as they stay healthy, I mean, they should be able to contribute. But again, with the Broncos medical staff and the work that Bo Lowry and company have done the last couple seasons, we're both very hopeful.
Shouts from Eric Flynn. Good to see you tonight, big dog. Thank you for the stars. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're excited by what you're seeing from the Broncos as well. We also have Brandon Williams on Facebook checking in. Thank you, buddy. As always, appreciate you guys. Got the top 2 guys I wanted today. Did the Broncos?
Thank you, Brandon.
Says, awesome to hear, dude. Really stoked. The arrow, I'll say, Zach, is headed in the right direction. It's ticking in the right direction.
I just love the fact that we have tangible news. The Broncos are making great signings, Chad, and players actually want to play for Sean Payton. You know, the thug, supposedly, the coach that had this supposed bad reputation. Now free agents find the Broncos an enjoyable destination. I quite enjoy that.
Yes, indeed. Byron Lewis jumping in again with a very generous second super chat.
Thank you, Byron.
Is there an update on the Ingram visit? I know he's coming off of an injury. So, Zach, we touched on it at the very tippity top of the show, but real quick, just kind of recapitulate the latest, what you've heard on Evan Ingram.
Yeah, today he spent the day visiting with the Broncos at Bronco Park. I would assume going through negotiations, going through medicals. And a couple hours ago, we heard that he was still there, going through probably those same things, but it's been radio silence other than that. So I don't know if no news is good news or if no news is bad news here. We'll find out by tomorrow morning, probably.
Man, usually if that's a guy they want, whether it's the Broncos or any other NFL team, they often don't leave the building. You know, not everybody is Peyton Manning making the whirlwind tour across the fruited plain, who can basically dictate terms and all that. You get a guy like Evan Ingram in the building, hanging out, soaking in the culture, meeting all the shot callers, probably meeting a Bo Nix if I were to put some money on it, etc. I feel really positive, Byron, really good. We won't know till we know, but I feel really good about Evan Ingram coming to Denver.
And that would be
staying in Denver.
Yeah, that would be a good pickup too, Chad, if they made that official. He's that joker, big body, possession, receiving threat in a tight end's body, tight end position anyway. And I would just think it would be take one area of need off their plate and allow them to go true BPA in the draft.
Indeed. Man, he could bring so much to the table, though. I mean, again, health willing, right? Like, that's the caveat on any of these veteran signings. Evan Ingram this past season dealt with quite a bit of injury setbacks, 9 games, all of which were starts, 47 receptions, 365 yards, 1 touchdown, but also some serious organizational instability taking place in Jacksonville this past season, quarterback injury, all that. But the year prior in Jacksonville, oh boy, was available for all 17, started 15, 114 catches, Zach, 963 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he's just that big. He's basically a big receiver. You know, he's like your Jimmy Graham. He's a little bit longer in the tooth, but you keep it within the scope of a short-term 2-year deal, 3 years, maybe the first 2, are more guaranteed. Buys you time to develop your own guy, to grow with Bo. He would be an excellent addition to Evan Ingram. I'm so glad he shook loose at the 11th hour right before all this started. Jamal Killing's in the house, one of the coolest names in our community. Great to see you tonight, big dog. Thank you for the super. Says, hello, Broncos country. I like the free agents we signed, but I wish we could have signed a receiver to help Bo out. Broncos for life. Hey, asking you shall receive. It's still early. Remember, this is day 1. And yeah, they're obviously not going heavy in on all the top guys basically signed quickly or got re-signed by their teams, including Chris Godwin. That was a big bummer for me. So it's not going to be, Zach, one of the top tier guys probably, but they don't really need the top tier guy. If you think about it, guys, like, look, I know media around the NFL this time last year were panning the Broncos skill positions and specifically wide receiver. Like, hey, who's Bo Nix going to throw to outside of Cortland Sutton? But everybody slept on Sean Payton. They forgot that it's Sean Payton. And steadily, slowly but surely, however you want to put it, man, guys started coming to the fore that you wouldn't have necessarily, Zach, foreseen becoming such significant playmakers and role players. And you've got Marvin Mims, dude. You've got a Devon Vele coming back in year 2. You got Franklin back in year 2. Again, everything so far Sean Payton has said, if it holds true, which it has up to this point, one of the things he also said on that couch with Kay Adams was, we're a lot happier with our wide receiver situation than maybe outside perception would have you believe. We're seeing that in living color.
Yeah, Jamal, I mean, I echo your point at its core is that the offseason should be building around Bo and getting him more weapons, but I just don't know realistically who you wanted. Chad mentioned Chris Godwin. He stayed on a big deal with Tampa Bay. Did you want to pay Devontae Adams $23 million a year, whatever he's making? No. Darius Slayton, did you want to overpay for him? No. They have receivers they like Chad mentioned, Mims, Vele, Franklin. They're going to give Bo Nix probably a veteran tight end and a tight end in the draft. They're probably going to give Bo Nix 2 running backs in the draft. And he proved he can make hay even with no weapons. So I don't think there should be a desperation to sign a receiver for the sake of signing one.
Indeed. We can pull up and see who's left in terms of the receiver pool, just for everybody's edification. But Patrick jumping in, stay caffeinated, Broncos country. Yes, indeed. Supplying the good stuff out there in Patrick's coffee, and I'm about to botch it. Zach, you're a partaker. What's the name of his coffee company?
Lion Coffee.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Been a long day, a great day, busy day, but a long one at that, Patrick. We appreciate you, big dog. Helping MHH. Right now, if you could see Scott, he's holding one of your Lion Coffee red bags right up to his camera going like this, giving you props. So appreciate you, buddy. Keeping MHH caffeinated and thus productive. You the man. We got John Blue checking in. That's a newer name on Super Chat.
Thank
so,
you,
John, welcome to the manger, my friend. Thank you for the support. Make yourself known. Stick around. Really appreciate your support, big dog. He says, thoughts on using a mid-round pick on Arizona State running back Cam Scatabo? I think he might be a sleeper. Well, I don't know if you would call him I guess it depends on how you would define a sleeper. I mean, if he's not a first-round pick, maybe that automatically qualifies him as a sleeper, but he is widely viewed as one of the top, probably at least top 10 backs. I would put him top 5 or 6 backs. I would love it. I think it's a very possible scenario, Zach, like a 3rd round pick. You might see him go higher. We'll see. Broncos might, if they want him, have to be willing to use that 51 overall in the 2nd round if you want him. But I like him a lot, man. I think he could, he oozes some of the Joker traits, brings a lot to the table. It'd be interesting to see him teamed up with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. That's for sure.
That's what I was going to say. Was I think he's going to go higher than the middle rounds when it's all said and done, John. And he's not my plan Z by any means at running back, but he's not my plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D either. We'll see if the Broncos disagree. They met with Scatabo at the combine. He brings an interesting profile to the table. He'd be a big bruising, workhorse back for him, but they can get a Genty, a Henderson, a Marion Hampton, even a Dylan Sampson. Those are the running backs that I would prioritize for Denver over Scatabo.
Nahaj. And by the way, just for posterity, and then I'm going to grab Naj. Here's the mock draft database consensus big board in order at running back. Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, then Scatabo. So he's the 6th ranked back. That puts him at basically the 84th ranked overall player. And the peak that he's being seen in these mocks, 74 overall. So keep that in mind. Naj, brother, what is going on? Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Naj.
Stoked to see Naj in the house tonight. He says, what's up, my brothers? Just showing some love. Keep bringing the positivity. Go Broncos. Hey, dude, we appreciate you. You know that, Naj. Can't wait to hang again this fall in Denver. Hopefully that's in the cards for you again. Make the trip. But, brother, appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you, Naj. No one spreads positivity quite like Naj Altaf. So you would know, and we appreciate your support.
Did you spend 2 minutes around Naj? You're going to be going, man, I want what he's on. And you know what he's on? Life. All right. He's a shot of life. Much love, brother. Ralph Bracegirdle on Facebook. A no-fly zone 2.0. I'm not convinced. Well, I mean, you got to be realistic in your expectation. You've got the number 1 defensive player in the NFL, number 1 corner, obviously, in Pat Surtain. Riley Moss was a nice revelation last year. You need him to continue showing progress on the other boundary position. You need to see Jaquan McMillan really step it up, because it wasn't that he was bad last year, Zach. It was a slight step back from his phenomenal 2023 season where he emerged as a starter and key player as that nickel. But the safeties, now you got Brandon Jones, you got Hufanga. I like it as a possibility, no-fly zone 2.0, but that's just going to be one of those, it's almost like a curse, is it an Orange Crush 2.0, and that was held over everybody's heads forever, and now it's no-fly zone 2.0. Maybe they'll figure out a way to create something new, Zach, and come up with their own moniker. We'll see.
Well, and Chris Abrams-Drain as well, who looks like he could
Yes.
be a potential long-term cornerback too. So, Ralph, whether they're no-fly zone 2.0 remains to be seen, but I don't think they have to be. I think they're still going to be a damn good secondary on a damn good defense that's going to lead a damn good Broncos team into the playoffs for the second year in a row.
Ralph, good to see you, buddy. How are you? So you're not convinced on what the safety signing? You'll have to give us some more insight on that. But we're at 40 minutes, so let's catch up on some supers and some star supporters here. Gene William, again, jumping in. How would you feel if we got Byron Murphy, the corner? He seems like he'd make us so much better. I love McMillan, but I just don't think cornerback is a big need for this team. I really don't in any way, shape, or form. Because as we just talked about, Gene, you've got a really strong top 3 on the depth chart and a solid 4th guy into the fire in Chris Abrams-Drain. That's a position at which you can go, yeah, we'll look for the right fits in the draft, but you're not running out there to go spend money. Byron Murphy is a very good player, don't get me wrong. The Broncos really don't need him relative to what he would cost and what it would then dictate they don't partake in over here. The way it would just affect things, you don't need to spend on cornerback right now.
Not to mention they tendered Jaquan, an exclusive rights free agent for the 2025 season. So he's under contract for, relative pennies on the dollar. I'm not cutting off my nose to spite my face, creating a roster hole just to fill it. They have their cornerbacks in place. They might add one for depth, but yeah, I'm not going about that way.
Gene, thank you, buddy. Gary Palmer, the GLP, Mount Rushmore in the house right here. Great to see you tonight, Gary. Says, hi, Chad and Zach. So good to see the free agent moves address the defense. Anyone left for running back? Go Broncos. So I was going to pull up a tab. Let me go to Spot Rack because they seem to be more timely with updating the guys that get signed. And I feel their pain talking about over the cap because just updating the free agency tracker for one team throughout a day like this can be a massive pain in the you-know-what. So I understand that it's not easy to be super timely updating these things, but Spot Rack is much more on top of it. So here's what they have listed, and it might not be perfect. I haven't monitored every single signing today across the NFL guys because I've been busy alongside Zach writing up the articles of what's been going on in Denver. But here's who they have listed. Let's see. Raheem Mostert, Jamal Williams, Najee Harris still floating out there according to them. Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson. I'm just going to name a few more. A.J. Dillon, Nick Chubb, Alexander Madison, Travis Homer. You get a little further to the Amir Abdullahs, the J.K. Dobbinses. As Zach mentioned, one name earlier, Rico Dowdle. Ty Johnson is a guy that I know Nick likes. So there are still some options, but they're more that second, third wave caliber, Zach.
Yeah, the future running back of the Broncos, starter, workhorse, whatever, isn't on the roster, and he's not on the free agent market. I like Kenneth Gainwell, but he's staying with Philadelphia. So there's really no one out there, Gary, but I want to provide an update really quickly, Chad, about Evan Ingram, because Mike Kliss of 9 News tweeted it, so I want to read it word for word here. Here's what Kliss said. What I know of it, the Evan Ingram visit. It began Sunday night with Broncos coaches, personnel, taking the tight end out for dinner. Ingram spent most of the day today at the Broncos facility visiting with coaches, personnel, and staff. He then left the building without a deal, still working through it. We'll see. ...
There you go. Gary, love you, buddy. Nathan Phillips, hey, thank you for that super chat. Good to see you tonight. Welcome. Appreciate you. The Lady D jumping in again.
Thank you, Deanna.
And she's
So
cracking the whip.
Thank
She
you.
says, hey, guys, there's over 400 watching on YouTube. Only 68 likes. Please hit the like button. It's super important. We need to support our program. Go Broncos, MHH for life. Tell you what, guys, we're how many do we really have in the room? So we're around 400 on YouTube. I'll tell you what, you guys, you get us by the time we're off, and that's 15 minutes. You get us over 200 likes tonight. All right, we'll do a jersey raffle on Thursday. Okay, we'll do a jersey raffle. Get us there before we're off. We'll keep an eye on it. Lady D, you let us know if we're getting close. Smash the like button, and if we get over 200 while we're still live, raffle, baby. Tom, Dude, good to see you. Yeah, we've missed you as well. Thank you for the super. Glad to have you back to the campfire, big dog. We've kept it roaring. Don't worry. Says, I miss chatting. I've been busy. Understandable, brother. Always listening and sharing. Thank you. Still the best team pod out there. Thank you, brother. Would you kick the wheels on Cooper Cup once he's released? Are you convinced, Zach? Answer for Tom, but in that answer, are you convinced they are going to release him?
Yeah, because they can't find a trade partner. And after signing Devontae Adams, they have Puka Nakua. They have no use for Cooper Cup. So, yeah, he'll be on the open market by, I think it was Wednesday they gave the deadline for. But I'm not on the Cooper Cup bandwagon for the Broncos. Maybe you might be thinking differently, Chad. He's older, he's injury prone, and I'm not taking those snaps away from the younger receivers we talked about earlier.
And just like that, we're over 100, guys. For what it's worth, we're over 100 likes. Keep it rocking. More chill 247. Hey, that's an interesting YouTube handle. It's not one that I recognize unless you've changed your handle. So welcome and thank you, big dog. Stick around. It says, good evening, MHH. I'd love your guys' opinion on taking Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver in the first round, running back in rounds 2 and 3. Emeka is my Justin Jefferson of this draft. I'll be screaming Emeka from the high heavens if he's available. Zach, he has been a common mock to the Broncos at pick 20. Would you like to see the Broncos pull the trigger on that if push comes to shove next month?
A lot of receivers in this draft class. It's not the best one. It's maybe a little top heavy, but this is my draft crush. I love his laid hands, his receiving ability over the top, down the middle of the field. I just don't know if they're going to prioritize receiver to the extent of using their first round pick on him. Like Chad said, Sean Payton believes they're stronger there than people think. They have a bigger hole at tight end, a bigger hole at running back. That's where I think they'll look, but definitely wouldn't be a bad consolation prize giving Bo a legitimate receiving threat.
For what it's worth, he is mocked right around that window where the Broncos are sitting in the first round. On the consensus big board, he's the 4th-ranked receiver behind McMillan, Golden, and Burden. Then it gets Egbuka, then Trey Harris, and then some other interesting guys. My kind of crush in this draft of receiver is Jack Besh. Scott and I got an up-close look at him at the Senior Bowl. We got to talk to him at the Combine, and he could be a Cooper Cup guy that can grow with a young Bo Nix and even offer some of the similar kind of skill set ability of that big slot that, a joker tight end, for example, could provide. So he's my guy. But when it comes to Emeka, Zach, he's the most recent mocks have him from Fantasy Pros, for example, going to Denver at 20, but none of them show him getting out of the first round.
Yeah, it all depends. These questions are so tough to answer, so far out of the draft. Depends how the board breaks and how the Broncos rate these players, but I'd be surprised if they put a receiver over a tight end or a running back.
I'll actually be slightly surprised if Besh is not a first-round pick, dude. He's so good. Like, he's one of those guys that isn't going to blow you away with, like, all of his measurables and how he tests, but, like, he is just amazing at everything he does. Troy, the Fawn Donkey in the house. That's his Twitter handle. Great to see you, bro. Thank you. Says, hey, guys, thanks for the update and discussion. Let's sign Johnson and Ingram tomorrow. What do you think, Zach? Do you think that's perhaps on the horizon for the Denver Broncos?
Well, I think it's going to be Johnson or Ingram, not because they don't really need 2 veterans. I think the plan here is to sign a veteran and then double dip in the draft with a rookie understudy. So I'm about it. I want Evan Ingram, but if he's going to leave the building or hold out for more money and be a problem, whatever, Juwan Johnson's not a bad plan B. Has familiarity with Sean Payton and can fill that joker role at tight end.
Troy's a big fan of the morning show, Broncos for Breakfast. He could be talking about Ty Johnson. And Evan Ingram. Is that what you're saying here, Troy? I'm curious. Let us know in the chat, big dog. Kyle. Really interesting. Okay. Zach, grab this from Phil. I got to fix something real quick on my timeline here.
Yeah, Kyle Juszczyk just got released from the Niners, surprisingly, multi-Pro Bowl fullback. But the Broncos have Michael Burton. I mean, the Broncos are one of the few teams in the NFL, along with the Niners, that still employ a fullback. But as long as Burton's around, they have no use for the juice.
Yeah, I am pulling him up right now just so fans have a little bit of a statistical snapshot. First of all, he's 33, but let's just look at the last 2 years. So as that out of the backfield playmaker, pass catcher, 14 receptions in 23 for 119 yards, played all season, 19 last year for 200 yards, two tutties. And then, one carry, rushing carries. Where is it? I'm seeing the touchdowns attempts, 5 carries, 7 carries, 8 carries, 17 carries. So his career high was across the board pretty much was that 2020 season, but he's had better receiving campaigns. They're just, Zach, now half a decade in the rear view.
I want to add that Burton is a free agent, and so he's not under contract, but I feel like Juszczyk, just on his name alone, is going to get a pretty fat contract for a fullback, and I'm not looking to pay a lot to that position, so I'd gladly settle for Michael Burton back.
All right, we've got Steve Griffith, and we're getting pretty close here, guys, to having to sign off time. We are, we're 55 to go for what it's worth, guys. Hit the likes. You're on the
smash that like button, guys.
You smash it. You're 50 likes away from helping out you football priests and unlocking. We'll do a raffle Thursday night. Steve Griffith, brother, great to see you. So I'm super stoked about the Greenlaw signing, the best enforcer we've had at linebacker since Al Wilson. That's tough, dude, because, I've been around for 40 plus years, being able to track that institutional recall and knowledge of the linebackers in Denver. Post Al Wilson, I always, and not just because he was a first round pick, but when they leaned on DJ Williams to be the Mike, I loved that period of time. But Zach, Danny Trevathan's pretty tough to beat. Like Greenlaw, that I granted in terms of like consistent production, no injuries, 2015 was really all you could hang your hat on with Danny. But so it's going off 1 year. But he would have to, I think, unseat Danny Trevathan, and it can be done.
All I know is he's better than late career Todd Davis. He's better than like the Alexander Johnsons of the world, the Kenny Youngs of the world, the fill-in replacement level talent the Broncos had at linebacker for so long. He's a legitimate stud, and if he stays healthy, he's going to take the Broncos defense to a new, potentially championship level.
So here's a recap, guys, as we start winding down tonight's show at 156 likes on YouTube. Here's your recap for today. All right. In terms of re-signings, and this doesn't count anything that may have happened since we've been live. Okay. But the Broncos brought back Jarrett Stidham, Mitchell Fraboni, the long snapper, DJ Jones, the defensive tackle, and Matt Pert. We haven't talked a lot about that, but they locked in their swing tackle on a 2-year deal. In terms of outside signings, they brought in Talanoa Hufanga. I'm still not sure how to emphasize that vowel in the middle there. The safety from San Francisco, a big deal, 3 years worth up to $45 million. And then Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker from San Fran as well, 3 years, $35 million. They did have to say goodbye to Javonte Williams, the running back, signed with Dallas. Zach Wilson, 1-year deal, as well as Williams, a 1-year deal. Signing with the Dolphins, though, to go play quarterback there. Cody Barton is really cashing in. Of all these guys, he's the one that's cashed in the most. 3 years, $21 million with Tennessee. And then Tremont Smith, the corner / special teams maven, 2 years, $7.5 million in Houston. And then you've got the rumor mill, which has not just rumor mill, but verifiable reports. Evan Ingram at Broncos Park today, expected to sign, Zach. And I think that pretty much brings us up to present.
Yeah, we got the Ronk checking us out as always, saying great show tonight, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you as always, Ronk. You are much appreciated, my friend.
Okay. We got a few messages for you. For what it's worth, we're at 164. I want to raffle a jersey. Let's get to 200. It's easy. Like button. Just right now while you're watching. Zach's going to go through our end of show stuff. All very important. But while you're listening, just pull up the old phone, smash the old like button, and help out your boys. And by the way, again, Lady D, thank you for helping us remember that, because we're not a shows that typically, Zach, for what it's worth, I'm very small soapbox. How often are you hearing us telling you, smash the like button, smash the like button?
Rarely.
Working smash the like button into every little like opportunity we can. We don't. We remind you here and there. So we appreciate it when we hear it from the community. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Another tremendous installment of the Mile High Huddle podcast is in the books. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com. Get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Okay, while we're so close, for what it's worth, 181. You got 19 more likes, guys. I'm going to grab this from Peter Parker. Missed it earlier. He says, fellas, exciting day for us. My question for both of you is, since Jones went back to the Vikings and Harris to the Chargers are no longer options, who do you see us signing at running back, or do we?
No, you don't.
I do think they sign a guy, just not a big name. It's going to be like a little bit of a sleeper that the pro personnel department sees a little something in him. It could be a Dowdle type of guy. Not today, not tomorrow, not even Wednesday. It's the type of deal that comes in, Friday, Saturday, when you think you're kind of through the first wave, signaling that, hey, second wave, signing under the radar, relatively cheap deal, bring them in and modestly upgrade. And you got to do something, because your starter just walked out the door. He's gone. And again, happy trails to Pookie. I hope he goes to Dallas. Seriously, I mean this. I hope he goes to Dallas and crushes it. And that he, like George Payton intimated at the podium 2 weeks ago, Zach, at the combine, that they still believe, do the Broncos, that he's not quite back to 100%, that he's working back to that, and he will eventually get back to 100%. And I got to tell you, I hope, Zach, that it happens in Dallas for him, because I love Javonte Williams. Great guy.
Yeah, no matter what role he settles into for his career as a backup, whatever, a specialty kind of guy, I do wish him well as well. But I'm not going to go out and sign a Najee. I'm not going to go out and throw money at a Rico Dowdle for the sake of, throwing money at a running back. None of them, Chad, are going to be the Broncos running back of the future for the next 3, 5, 7 years, whatever. That guy is going to be found in the NFL draft next month.
Okay, we're 5 off. We're 5 off, gang. We got 2 minutes left. We're going to go the full 60 tonight, so we can hopefully raffle you guys off a jersey on Thursday night. And it will be 100%. If you're in the room Thursday night, you could win a jersey. Scott says, all right, I just legally tampered. Gave us 9 likes. Okay, so Mr. Producer, he's bumping the numbers. He's inflating the numbers, trying to help everybody out. We're 3 away. So for what it's worth, while we try and get to those last 3, I'm just taking a quick look. There's questions. Do we know what the Broncos are looking for in a tight end? Yeah. They're looking for a pass catching guy, a joker guy. Hopefully a guy that can bring a plausible level of blocking to the table. But Sean Payton's looking for a guy that can work the middle of the field, be that outlet, that security blanket, and a bona fide twitchy-ish playmaker for Bo Nix. And Evan Ingram, Zach, definitely would fit that bill. So would Juwan Johnson. But I'm more, once Ingram got kicked loose, I've been more about Ingram as a short-term, 2 to 3 year max kind of Band-Aid while they develop a draft pick.
I mean, the guy caught 114 passes, whatever it was, as recently as 2023. There's also a clip on Twitter where he mosses a Packers defender last season before his shoulder injury, I think it was. So, yeah, he's the guy I would want. And we have to keep in mind, too, for anyone apprehensive about signing Juwan Johnson or Evan Ingram, they're going to be drafting a tight end, maybe two, next month. So you're not leaning on Ingram to be the tight end of the future. You're not leaning on Juwan Johnson. They're just a complimentary upgrade on the Adam Troutmans of the world.
So, hey, this wasn't clear. I got to put it in the past tense because it's in the books. We've exceeded 200 likes. Raffle unlocked. Stay tuned for that on Thursday. Guys, love you. Mile high salute and a special shout out tonight to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on. And there's so many of you tonight, so I'm just going to go in order here. David Youngkin, Taylor Christensen, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, Shiloh, Sam Bam, Rock Chalk, Drew, good to see you, Drew, Gene William, The Ronk, Timmy Shields. Did we get Timmy Shields? In case we didn't, Timmy, my defensive wish list is complete. So stoked this defense will be top 2. Let's hope, buddy. Thank you for the super chat. George Fox, Kathy across the pond, the Lady D multiple times, Byron Lewis multiple times, David Youngkin again multiple times, Phil McLaughlin, Eric Flynn, Matt Fisher, Brandon Williams, D-Dub, legendary figure, Jamal Killings, John Blue, so many newer names too. Love seeing that. Ralph Bracegirdle, the GLP, Nathan Phillips, Patrick Wiltsey, the Naj. He's just the Naj. Tom Laukoff, more chill 24/7. Troy, Steve Griffith, and last but not least, Woody Malott jumping in with a super chat to say, we love you guys.
Yeah, really quickly, anyone wondering about Najee Harris, a little bit of breaking news. He is signing a 1-year contract worth up to $9.25 million with the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Broncos will be playing Najee twice a year, but thankfully, Chad, he won't be playing for the Broncos. That's going to do it, though, for us this evening. Have a great start to your week. It's going to be a busy one. Stay tuned at MHH.com for more. We'll see you Thursday. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.